All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Ross Givens here, doing a little YouTube live session, and I want to cover a couple things today. Mainly going to look at the top setups we see in this market. So we're going to look at a couple of names that look good to buy, a couple of names that look good on the short side, and kind of give you an idea of where I would likely buy or sell each of those. Okay, so let's start with the short names. Well, start with the overall markets. We look at the SPY. This is the S&P 500. I've got a very basic line drawn here, but as you see, look, we're still in a downtrend. I know you want to get excited here at the bottom's end. You get excited here at the bottom's end, but so far the market is still bottoming out. And until we break through that 200-day with some sort of decisiveness and we start seeing breakouts work and we start seeing stocks as a whole gaining in more new highs than more lows, I'm not yet convinced. So right now I'm still looking at longs and shorts. When the market is unquestionably in an uptrend, we'll only look at longs. But right now I think it's best to spread your dollars out a little bit. So a couple of short trades I'm seeing here. And one thing to think about is when you're buying stocks, you're buying a company, a stock, you expect to go higher. So don't try to bottom fish. Don't try to nail the bottom in Facebook, or don't try to get Amazon because it's half off what it was. Stick to the best of the best. If I'm buying stocks, I want the best there are. I want the big growth, huge sales growth, huge earnings growth, high relative strength, breaking into new highs, one that is basically difficult to buy. It's so strong. On the short side, I don't want to try to nail the top in a stock. I want stocks that are clearly trash. Nobody wants. They're getting dumped in mass, and they're falling in a big way. So let's look at a couple. One is Ottr, OTTR. Now, this is a stock I bought previously back here in August. It was forming a base. It's shallowing out. It broke out beautifully from 70 to 80 bucks. Now it has rolled over. Okay, this was a great buy in July. It's a great sell in November. Quickly, these stocks can flip. But look what's happened since. And the stock has gone from 80 bucks to 50. It's fallen 35% over a couple of months. It's cut through its 200-day moving average, which is this white line here on the chart. The white line I've got here is a 200-day. And the red line here is my 50-day moving average, just to give you an idea what you're looking at. The others are a 21 and a 10. But just throughout the charts, just know that's the 200 and the 50. So when I talk about the 200, it's a big significant level. It's the white line we're looking at in the chart. And just see how significant it is. I mean, look at it on the ride up. Support, 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 bounced. And then once it cut through, resistance, 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 one little test, and then shot down. So this is a stock clearly looking to go lower. So in a stock doing this, all I want to do is sell the bounces. And I always use the analogy like you're looking for the weakest kid on the playground, and you want to knock him over when he stands up to you. Okay, so this is this. It cut through the 200, made a little pop, sells off hard. This stock pushing back up to the 21-day moving average, the 50s right in here. I think OTTR is a great short position between here and call it 62, 63 bucks. Anywhere in here, it'll be looking to build a short position on OTTR. I can put a buy stop up here. So if I got short, I put a stop up there. Only need to risk, 10, whatever percent it ends up being, depending on where you sell it. But this stock clearly showing signs it's going to continue to move lower. Another one I call these broken leaders, previously high-flying stocks have now rolled over, is LANTH. LNTH was a very crowded trade, had a great 2022. You'd never know you're in a bear market. Looking at this chart. From January, the stock went from 25 bucks to $87, and it's broken down. And this is a trade we actually took. We shorted the thing here and covered here. Should have shorted it again. I didn't. But this stock is clearly showing you it wants to go lower. So in LANTH, there's two ways to short. One is a bounce up to resistance. The other is what we call a shelf break. And this stock is clearly putting in a shelf right down in here of support. And so what the stock is saying, I mean, read between the lines on this. What the stock is telling me is nobody wants it. They're selling it in mass. And I can see that by the big dips on heavy volume over here. And not only is it being sold heavily, nobody wants it. The stock was at 80, and it was at 70 and 60 and 50. Still nobody's buying. And when it makes this big of a move down, it can only rally 9, 10%, maybe 11%. Nobody wants it. There's no demand. And so if this chart were inverted, if I flip this over, this is the kind of stock I'd want to buy on a move higher. It's putting in a shelf resistance. When it breaks, I want to buy it. So the opposite is true on the short side. So Lantheus, be watching this for a breakdown below, about the $55 area. If it breaks through, you'll likely see this thing make another leg lower. And again, you can put a buy stop for protection right here above the high of that move. So you only need to risk, a few dollars a share there. Okay, so that's short trade number 2, LNTH. Look for a shelf break below that 50, what do we call it? 54-ish kind of dollar level right there, okay? Third stock I want to look at short is CYTK. CYTK, very similar. Notice again the white 200-day moving average. Look at the significance of this. On the way up, it is support, 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 the whole way. Once it finally cuts through that, once it slices through the 200 degree, that is a change of character. The stock is no longer finding support. The buyers, the 200, are not there. Not to mention, this is the biggest dip the stock has made since in 2022. I mean, even in the bear market on this ride up, look at the percentages. I don't know if you can see the font. It's 26%, 15%, 22, 12, 22. This was a 32% drop. The writing is on the wall. The long trade is over. And so your only question becomes, where do I get short? I want to play this thing lower because it can go a lot lower. It's got more room to fall. So this one, just as this 200-day was support, 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 now it is going to be resistance. So I think anywhere from here up to probably $42, anywhere in here is where you want to sell the stock short. And looking for a continuation, new lows, I would expect to see the stock come down to around probably the $30 mark, which would give you about, I don't know, 20, 30% profit on a short move here. Okay, so that's the 3 shorts: OTTR, LNTH, Lantheus, and CYTK, Cytokinetics. That's 3 short trades I'm watching. Okay, now let's look at long trades. Now, obviously, we want the best of the best, and I'll show you some really strong stocks. This is Elf Beauty, ELF. What do I know about beauty companies? Absolutely nothing, but I know what a stock chart does, and this stock is surging. It's up 160% in the last 6 months. It's riding its freaking 10-day moving average. This is huge. These are tough because you often don't get a buying opportunity. Maybe you could have said, like right in here, it finally took a little pause, put in a bit of a pivot, and you could have bought the breakout there for a move higher. These are tough. So a stock like this, you either just got to chase it or just wait for a pullback to the 10-day or the 21-day and buy it. Another one, similar characteristics, ERIE, ERIE, Property Casualty Insurance Company. Look at this one. It's for the most part riding that blue line. It's 21-day moving average. So you just want to buy any retracement to it. This would have been a good one right in here. Now, it's a higher price stock. Some people don't like the higher price stocks, trading a smaller account, but keep an eye on ERIE. It's very, very strong. Any retracement down to the 21-day moving average, I would consider a buy. A third one showing a lot of strength. It's just tempting to chase is EXTR. EXTR set up here showing support, ripped off of it. This thing's up, I mean, just huge. It's up 50% in the last 6 weeks. Any retracement in this one I would watch. But for better setups, for stocks you don't have to chase, and this is one tough thing about trading. There's stocks I know I want to buy. I think they're going up, but I don't have a low risk place to buy it from. So some that are setting up, First Solar, ticker FSLR. Now, we own this, my insider effect service, which is very different. We just track the buying and selling of insiders. But as a side note, a lot of insiders were buying a stock about 2 months ago. We got in down over in here around, don't quote me on this, but I mean 100, 105 a share, something like that. It's up around 50% on it. But notice this one, put in kind of a pivot. And this is often all you get in these stocks. That's why I showed you some of the powerful ones, how often you don't get a big, 2-month base. Sometimes you only get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 days there and breaking out. But this one breaking out to new highs. The biggest, and this is kind of a side tangent, but one of the easiest ways to identify stocks that are in demand, that are being bought, that are making big surges is the volume. And anybody who looks at charts without volume on them is doing themselves a big disservice. Just look at the daily volume here. You don't need to be a data scientist to notice the big bars are green and the small ones are red. And that's really all we're looking at. On the big surges in volume, the big days when stock makes big moves, where are the traders? Are they buying, big buying, or are they selling? And ideally, the setup you want to see is higher volume on the surges higher and lower volumes on the pullback. So as the stock is accelerating like here, you want to see big spikes in volume. As the stock is pulling back, and this one, there's a little bit, notice how the volume kind of retraced right in here. I'd like it to be even lower, but you want to see lower volume on the retracements. And so this now is kind of stalling very, very low volume right in here. The last couple of days are likely because of the Thanksgiving holidays. But we are setting up, breaking out to new highs. So First Solar is one to keep an eye on. Another biotech, the areas I've been watching primarily are solar and biotech all year. They've shown the most strength. We're finding the most setups. One of them is Neurocrine Bioscience, ticker symbol NBIX. The stock, just a textbook pullback to the 50-day and bouncing, looking for a move higher. I think you're going to see much higher prices in NBIX. This is almost a textbook study of base formation. Now, first of all, look at the volume. I don't love this little pocket of selling we got, but the stock is rebounding from it. For the most part, the big volume was on the buys. But each one of these was a great entry setup. First, we had the big run up, followed by a shallowing, compression action, breaks out to new highs. Now it did that in a bear market. So it goes into what's known as a base on base, kind of a flat base structure where the stock just kind of churns. This is really just shakes people out. And then finally breaks out from there, one retest and pushes higher. So NBIX does that, goes through what we call a natural reaction or some profit taking. Notice it came right back to the previous breakout area. So one little retest and then now shooting back higher. So NBIX looks good. I think the stock's going higher. I'll be very confident taking a position in NBIX. And then one other I was going to show you, this is a smaller stock. In full disclosure, I did begin building a position in this stock a couple of days ago, is OSG, Overseas Ship Holding Group. It's a marine shipping company. They had a big run earlier in the beginning of the year until Biden essentially declared war on the U.S. guys. This stock showing up really This stock's showing a pretty good base pattern in here. Now, it's a smaller company. It's only $245 million, which makes it technically a micro cap stock. 300 million is the cutoff for small cap. Volume's also low. There's some days in here where the stock only saw, 80, 100,000 shares traded, average around 300,000. But we had just the prettiest uptrend you ever saw, little retracement, and then a nice shallowing of this thing as we hold up here. So notice I've got a line drawn here at $3 to set me an alert to add more. I also have an order outstanding to add to this position if it gets above $3.10, which would be essentially the breakout. And so instead of waiting for the breakout, we'll see if this is smart or not. But again, kind of buying in here on the little retracements, buying as the moving average. I'll add a little more as we get through this high. And then if we break out, I will add more in here. So I'm just kind of slowly building a position to improve my average cost basis. But this is a riskier one. Take that in mind. It is a smaller, thinner stock. It's a cheaper stock. You're not likely to get a lot of institutional activity here. But this one's in a good group. The numbers look good. The structure is good. We get that breakout above the $3, $3.10 mark. I think we could have, at the very least, a run back to the highs, which is going to be 15, 20% from here. Okay, so that's the big names on my list. I don't want to run too deep today, but just wanted to kind of give you some ideas for the Thanksgiving week to keep an eye on. OTTR, LNTH, CYTK on the short side. Long setups, First Solar, Neurocrine Biosciences, and Overseas Shipping. And then those super power stocks, if you happen to get a retracement, you may just set an alert. Hey, if this thing falls 5% or 10%, let me know, and I'll grab some shares. ELF, ERIE, and EXTR. That's the big power names. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing right now. There are some other trades. There's stock like Enphase, which is structurally setting up really, really well. This is a trade I talked about before. We took this trade back in here, made a nice 40% run in just a couple of weeks. It is obviously setting up in a very similar pattern now. Could potentially break out. This is just a very heavily watched stock. Everybody's eyeballs are on it. And when a trade becomes too obvious and too many people are watching it, it is more prone to failure, which is why I'm trying to focus on some of these names that are being a little bit less watched. Okay. So I hope this helps. Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And we'll see you on the next YouTube live session.